Hey, good evening, and thanks for joining us at 6:30. I'm Blair Best. Remember the threat of hundreds of layoffs at ODOT? Well, that's not happening, at least for now. And it's not because the agency found money or from new taxes. It's thanks to new legislation, hailed as a short-term fix for the agency, that passed during Oregon's short session, which ended Friday. Well, today I talked with a Republican lawmaker who says the debate over ODOT funding is just one example of the partisan divide in Salem, resulting in what he calls missed opportunities by lawmakers to address issues that are facing everyday Oregonians. Filling the Oregon Department of Transportation's nearly $300 million budget gap was one of the top and most divisive issues this past legislative session.
There aren't really any easy solutions here.
On Monday, ODOT announced the state will redirect $218 million from existing transportation funds, like Safe Routes to School, to avoid hundreds of ODOT layoffs and service cuts through the next 18 months.
We are all breathing kind of a collective sigh of relief over here.
All thanks to two bills passed this short session. Senate Bill 1601, which redirects millions from existing programs, and House Bill 5204, which lowers ODOT's authorized spending by about $80 million. Catherine Beninati is an ODOT spokesperson.
Both of these are a one-time solution to get us through this budget cycle. And we've really had some challenges with how we are funded, and we're looking for long-term solutions so that we can continue to provide services to Oregonians.
The short session ended Friday, with Democrats largely calling it a success.
Leaders here in the legislature prioritize steady, responsible governance. Together, everyone here in the building tackled the issues that Oregonians care about most. We've stabilized the Oregon Department of Transportation budget. We need to launch a long-term bipartisan conversation about what comes next, and there's more to come on that.
Republican Representative Virgil Osborne, who represents parts of Douglas County, says lawmakers could have done more for Oregonians. So on the House floor last week, you said something along the lines of lawmakers were spending too much time debating and arguing instead of getting things done for everyday Oregonians. What did you mean by that?
Well, by definition, the short session in Oregon is to go back and revisit laws that we've already passed. It's to look at budgets that need adjustments, and it's to look at, frankly, affordability and things that need to be taken care of. And that's what the short session's for. It's only a 5-week session. But instead, this session, we spent a lot of time doing things like that were just unnecessary.
What about the referendum to move the vote on raising taxes to fund ODOT? Do you think that bill was a waste of time?
That was probably the biggest waste of time, yes.
So what issues do you think lawmakers should have spent more time on?
I think what we could have been doing the whole session was spending more time on bills that literally attracted business. Because we have a problem in the state with jobs. We don't have enough jobs. We're not creating new jobs.
One of the major priorities this session was addressing ODOT's budget gap. Well, we're now hearing that the state will redirect about $218 million from existing transportation funds to avoid layoffs and service cuts. What's your reaction to that move?
Well, first off, I think that the whole thing was a farce. I don't think we were short on money. We gave them an alternative that could have easily taken care of that. But here's my thing: if you're talking about $200 million, to continue on, we just allowed $360 million to go to a basketball team, the Moda Center in Portland. And we argued on the floor on that for quite some time. And if there's that much money available and there's that much money that can be played with, why aren't we taking care of the core mission for ODOT first?
And ODOT says this $218 million is only a short-term solution. What do you think needs to happen to address the agency's long-term funding challenges?
Well, the agency hasn't been held accountable for forever, and we need to redirect some of the funds that are going for certain projects. They need to be redirected into the core mission.
Should ODOT be making cuts before asking taxpayers for more money?
I think there is plenty of money in general funds to handle whatever shortfall ODOT has, if, in fact, we audited ODOT and put them back on their core mission and controlled the spending.
So what do you think needs to change before the next session to make sure the legislature is more productive?
I think a 10% haircut on all agency budgets would be a good first step in the right direction.
Okay, ODOT says they've been making cuts and limiting spending for the past 6 years in anticipation of this budget shortfall, yet they still needed this short-term help. Now, the agency is funded for the next 18 months. Currently, ODOT has 700 vacant positions. More than 350 of those were from employees leaving over all of this financial uncertainty. They're actively hiring for 130 open jobs as we speak. And lawmakers plan to revisit the long-term transportation funding issue during next year's legislative session. So this is far from over. In fact, there are 2 hearings this week in both state and federal court over the transportation tax referendum vote. The question on the ballot: should some taxes, like the gas tax, be raised to fund transportation agencies across the state, including ODOT? Democrats passed a bill moving that vote from the November election to the May primary. Republicans sued after the governor signed it. One hearing is set for tomorrow in the state case. The federal case gets underway on Wednesday, and we'll keep you posted. But now we want to hear from you. What do you think about this ongoing ODOT budget saga? Did anything ODOT or that Republican lawmaker say stand out to you? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090.